everyone, and welcome back to Chat with me, Sandy, and
Karen.
At Chat with Sandy and Karen. Today we have a special guest with us who is going to talk about his experiences and challenges as a newly qualified teacher. So welcome, Emil.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us
it will be fun.
Tell us what you teach.
I am teaching history and social science, and I graduated just last summer. So I worked half a year as a substitute teacher, and then I got my first real job this January.
Do you feel like that was a good experience working as a substitute first?
Yeah, I think every teacher should try to be a good substitute teacher before you get the real deal, because it's a lot more challenging, and you have to adapt to more subjects and more classes and more students. But you learn a lot by being a substitute teacher.
Yes.
So that was a really good experience for me to be able to do that before I started my own.
I agree.
So, Emil, tell us a little bit more about you. So you teach younger kids, middle kids. Have you had experience teaching different ranges?
Mostly I've been in junior high or grades 7 to 9 in Sweden, and in high school. So I haven't been to the lower ages, teenagers mostly. And I think that's a pretty challenging thing to teach teenagers, actually. But it's fun. It's really fun.
Okay, so my question now is, you've come in and you've started teaching. How has the pandemic helped or not helped you during the process, during this teaching year?
Well, when you study in Sweden, you study for 5 years to become a teacher. And about 4.5 years, we didn't talk anything about online classes or how to be building a relationship with students online or through a camera. But luckily for me, when we had our placement, I think it's called in English, when you go to the schools and get to try out what you learned. The second day there, last year, every school in Sweden closed. So then we thought this is going to ruin our chance to get a job or something, because we have to teach online now. And we didn't really know how to react to that. But that actually gave me some experience coming into the profession after, and when applying for a job, it was something that I could say, well, I got a bit of experience teaching online already, because when I was in the school and teaching for the placement, I get to try that. So actually the pandemic helped a bit when it came, that we had the job experience just at that time. But of course, it's when I started working and met the students for the first time, everything was online. I still have students that I haven't met about 3 months later. So that's challenging, of course.
Yeah.
So would you say that is your biggest challenge?
Well, if when I started to work, you go back to thinking about, okay, what have I learned when I started to become a teacher? And one thing we talked a lot about, almost in every course, no matter the subject, we talked about the relationships with students. that you have to build good relationships to be able to teach at all. If you don't have that, it will be a lot harder. So the first challenge I thought about and really had to face was how do I build a meaningful relationship with the students through a camera? Because it's very different to meet someone, to see their body language, and yeah, that's been very challenging to do. So that was the first real issue.
Could I ask you, what are some of the things that you do to welcome the students in, to build that relationship?
Well, when I came, it was like mid-semester, right after Christmas, and then they had been online for a couple of weeks already. But as I was new, I could easily persuade the students to put on their cameras, because I'm new. I want to see your faces. So I know some teachers that I've talked to are having troubles to get the students to put on their cameras, because it's like their private sphere at home, and they don't want to show how they live, or if they have like siblings around or something. But I could persuade them pretty easily just by telling them to, well, I'm new, I want to see your face.
Yeah.
We have to like greet each other. So then it's just like what I try to bring into the classroom is to be as positive as possible. I try to make a lot of jokes and on my own expense most of the time. But like when you're talking online and when you just see the face or the ceiling or nothing at all, I think it's more up to me to be a positive force when they're at home. So maybe I don't get to know you that well, but you can get to know me more.
Yeah,
So that's something I try to do a lot.
That's good. Well, that's what years later, when students come back to you, and they're going to say, I remember when Mr. Carlson got online and he made us turn on our cameras and he made those funny jokes, So that relationship is what we remember. I mean, as a student, I remember the teachers that made me laugh. I remember the teachers that told me stories about their dreams and things like that, besides the content, So that's so important. And I'm glad that you're starting that right now at the outset. I mean, it's a terrible situation to have to do it, but you're learning so much. Like you said, you're so right.
Yeah, and also as the pandemic continued and when we realized that, okay, it's gonna be a while, I'm not gonna see the students for a longer period of time than we first thought, and then I started to like flip it a little bit. I thought, well, okay, think of it this way. I told my students then, when this pandemic is over, because it's going to be over sometime, we don't know when, but when it's over, what did you do? Like, did you just lay in bed and sleep for a year, and you got after every school subject you didn't perform as well as you could, and you just blame the pandemic? Or can you hold your head up high when this pandemic is over and say, well, I did it, I gave it my best shot, I really tried, even though this horrible pandemic swept over the entire world. I did my best and I performed as well as I could. So like putting a little bit of responsibility on the students, like trust yourself. You have to have this self-reliance when you, even though you're home now, and I know it's more difficult, but still you have to perform. Right. So I kind of made that, I pushed the students to think that way So when this pandemic is over, and 10, 20, 30 years from now, they can tell their children, well, I lived through a pandemic, but I got through it, and I did my best.
Yeah, that's right.
Because sometimes the students are a little bit too, they try to blame the pandemic for not doing their work.
Yeah.
And then maybe that was fine in the beginning, but now we have to like adjust to the situation. So
That's
Yeah.
good.
So what's your favorite tool that you're using, Emil, on during online?
Well, that's a good question. I've tried a bit different tools to, because that's what you have to do when you're new, and try and try and try. Okay, that didn't work. We'll throw that in the garbage bin and then try something else. But one thing that well, you, Sandy, actually introduced me to was this program called Parlay. It was, I don't know if you talked about it on the show already, but Parlay is a tool that you teachers can use to get anonymous answers from the students, like have discussions anonymously, and they get a famous person from history as their name. But you as a teacher can see the real names, and you can see how many people have you commented on, have you read the other students' opinions, and get everything very clear. Because that's another thing that the pandemic or the online courses have, like, I don't really know what the students do at home. I can't see them. And so you can control the students in different ways. Some want to have like exit tickets every lesson. You have to post something or send something to the teacher. But this way I don't have to do that. I can see that, well, Sandy, you only read 2 of the other students' text. Why haven't you done more? And you just wrote 2 words when you should have written 100 or something. And the students really, really enjoy being anonymous. They because there's another challenge with the pandemic. They get so in focus when they answer a question on in the school I work at, use Teams. But when they answer, they get really like in focus in front of the whole class in a very obvious way, and they get a bit shy and don't really want to answer in public, or they have discussions that they can get muted by someone else, and all those problems kind of disappears with this program, and they feel that they can write whatever they want as long as it's not offensive or anything, but have more personal opinions, and that's what I like to read. What do you think about the subject?
So let me understand. The communication is not necessarily video, but it's text. So we're writing back and forth like pen pals, having a...
Yeah, it's more like I've before the lesson, I put up some questions. This is what you are going to answer or make a statement about. And then they write their answer and they post it, and everyone's post comes in on a different page that you automatically get sent to when you click the send button. And then it's just said like, Harry Houdini wrote this. The students can't see who has written the statements or the answers. So they just read through it, and then they're going to comment on someone else's, and we can put out suggestions on comments. And then as a teacher, you can just click a button, and then you see the real names, and you get graphs of everything the students have done, and it's really easy to see what they performed this lesson.
That's great. If they are offline, does it pick up with the next time they get online and then synchronize so they can use it? That's great. See, that many students don't have internet, streaming access. So this would be very good, to work offline. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it works really well, and the students really enjoy that they can be anonymous, and they feel a bit more free to write what they want to say, really. That they don't have the courage to do online in Teams or Meet or whatever. So that's one tool I've used that's really worked for me, really. And the students, I get really good positive feedback from using this. I ask them, obviously, what do you think about this way of working, and they really like that, actually.
Cool.
It sort of like encourages them to give their voice, but through words. And I think that's what's really good about this program. It really does. What you would have done in the classroom, you can still do it online. Not the same, but it gives, I think, not for my subjects as much, but for Emil's subjects, you need these opinions. You need the group where you need them to talk. So
yeah, and I'm still going to use this program when they're back at school, I think, because sometimes you don't have the courage to speak out, and this program gives you the courage to do that. So I think I'm going to still be using it even after we're back at school.
Yeah, can't wait to be back at school.
Yeah, we'll see, but yeah, I just want to meet the students now. I want to see how tall are they? I don't know. Everyone is sitting down. And just because that's another thing. Like when you have a presentation online, it feels very strange, I think, just talking into a screen. That's one thing that I think is more difficult to do now, and something I was not prepared to tackle already. Like, do the students understand what I'm saying? Usually, you look at the body language. Is it going over their head? Like, you can see that very clearly if you just look at the class. And now you can't really see that so clearly. So that's what I've done to make it easier for the students is just record everything and post it on the where they can find all the materials from the lessons. And that's I think that the students are gonna crave that even after the pandemic too, because now everything is really clear for students, and they can go back and listen and look at like a presentation again.
Yeah.
And I think that they're gonna want to have that even after too. So that's one thing that the pandemic has done well, not well, but as I think before it maybe was a problem that not everything was online, like a lesson or something, and now we see that there's a need for that. I think that's going to continue even after.
Yeah, I think so. Across the world, I think you can see that's going to continue. So, Karen, I've heard there's some schools that are virtual schools are opening now. Just everything's going to be online.
Well, see, yes, there were. There's an association of virtual schools, at least in Texas, but I'm sure all over the states, in the bigger cities for students who kind of didn't. A regular face-to-face school was not meeting their needs, so the virtual schools were there, and some of them were offered by the state, so they were free, and students could sign up and go. But now there are also private schools like that are completely online, because some of the students have really blossomed with this kind of teaching. The ones who maybe feel very uncomfortable coming to school, or for whatever reason it just didn't work for them, but they have really embraced learning online, and they like the choices they have. And so, I think what's going to be successful, at least in my part of the world, is what we call blended learning, where it's a blend of face-to-face interaction, small groups, discussion, and then you have that technology component where the kids will have, they could do their homework anywhere. If they're on their way to a sporting event or something on the bus, they could do their response or something like that, or at least listen to the video that the teacher has put up. So I think hopefully we'll take the best of what has been learned in this last year and use that in the school, in the education system. So kind of a blend of virtual and face-to-face.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it will be very exciting to see. Like, I suppose the research is already coming in, and a lot of scientists are already starting to study the technology and how the school is changing. So I think it's going to be a lot of differences and an exciting time when this pandemic is over, for how you can teach and how you can progress with online teaching or wherever. In Sweden, we also have, in the north part of Sweden, we also have teachers that are just online, like living in Gothenburg, but teaching in the north part of Sweden. But that's mainly because no one really wants to live in the northernest part of Sweden. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, but that's one way to like get good teachers to remote places. Is to use online tools too.
Mm. We talked about the good tool. What's the worst tool you've come across?
Well, I haven't really tried any tool that was terrible. I've been quite safe because I'm that new, so I've been like in my comfort zone a lot, and not really having the courage to step out all the way. So I haven't really tried any tool that's terrible, really. Maybe I should try some.
No.
Are you the only one that's new in your department, or do you have other new teachers you can discuss with?
Well, we have quite a mix at the school that I work at. It's some teachers have more experience than others, so we have a really open dialogue across. It's not just the new teachers who are struggling with online. It's also the old teachers who have had to adjust to this new situation. So that's quite positive for me as a new teacher coming into this. But this is new for everyone, not just me. So I encourage everyone to speak with your associates or colleagues, and because someone maybe have the answer to one part of the question, like this worked really well for me, and then you can learn from each other. So I think I'm not just talking to the new teachers about how is it working for you. I'm also talking to the old teachers because it's new for them too.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
So what are your hobbies? What do you do for fun?
Well, I play football. The football we play in Europe, not in America.
Yeah, football.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of football. My favorite team is Liverpool.
Oh, something we have in common.
Oh, look at that. Cool.
I knew he was a star.
Yeah. And also, it's a lot of football in my life right now. Due to the pandemic, the season is being pushed up. We're not allowed to play any games right now against other teams. We can only play each other in their own team. But other than that, I'm trying to learn to speak Persian right now. It's going very slow. For me, it's a difficult language, but that also is one of my hobbies to do right now, or what I spend my time after work doing. Is football and trying to learn Persian mostly.
Cool. That's exciting.
I know. I tried to stalk Emil online and I couldn't find any social connections.
No, I'm not an influencer yet. Maybe after this show, I will rise in stardom. I hope. Maybe no.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not really that. I read more than I write on social media. Like Twitter is very exciting, I think, to read about opinions and the pedagogical side of reviews, because it differs a lot in Sweden, and we have a big. It's quite political here, and how you should teach or how you should learn. So it's quite fun to just go online and read. I do that quite a lot actually, but I don't post much content of my own.
So you're talking about you read a lot. What's your favorite book or article that you have read and that you can always go back to, and you can recommend to us or the listeners?
Yeah, I have one old teacher who posts a lot that I follow. His name is Isak Skogstad. He talks a lot about his opinions about the schools and how he thinks it should be. He's also an old high school teacher, and I think he's a little bit into politics now in school-related questions. I read his book. It's called An Equal School, Likvärdig skola in Swedish. I don't know if it's available in English. I don't think so, really, but what he writes I can often relate to, and he's helped me to think about how I want to teach and what my values are as a teacher. Yeah, so I like him a lot, and I follow him on Twitter to see what he writes. And he's not for everyone, I can say. He gets in quite a lot of heated arguments on Twitter with the politicians and other teachers, but I like most of what he's done so far, at least.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
What do you read or listen to?
Me, I like thriller. I like reading something that's got a little bit of suspense. I think Dan Brown is one of my favorite authors. Who else do I like? There was another book, and I've forgotten the name. It was a famous film made out of it with Julia Roberts about a little boy who had a disability, but he used to wear a spacesuit.
Oh, yeah.
I've forgotten the name. That book, oh my God, I read it in 2 days. It was good. I couldn't put the book down. I don't know, that has to be a really good particular book for me.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Karen?
Recently, well, Dan Pink is one of my favorite authors just because he has a very informal way that he speaks and he writes. And one of his books that he wrote is called Drive, about what motivates us. And I'm very interested in motivation and getting students to do what we want them to do. But also, to me, that's just interesting about the human is why some students just seem to take off, and learning becomes them, and they become learning, and they just go and do. But other students just struggle. And so I like to read about motivation. And there's also the Heath brothers. They have a book, Ideas That Stick, I think is their book. But I also had to read them for my business classes. So I was really glad to find them because it was really good, interesting ideas.
I got a book from my friend the other week. It's called Granskogsfolk. It's pine forest people. And it's about how nature become the Swedish religion. And like how to go out in the wild is very much, it's a very Swedish thing to do these days, and like has it become the new religion of Sweden. So
the spiritual experience.
I can see that. I think that was a really, really good book. I'm just halfway through at this point, but it was a fun book to read, actually.
Well, can't wait to hear more about that book.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that a lot of people are reassured, like many, because of the pandemic, they started gardening more, even just growing things on their patio or in a sunny window, they just feel some sort of connection to something that's growing. If they can't get outside, then they can try to experience a little bit of nature. So I think there is something to being able to put a seed in the ground and watch it grow, or just walk out in the woods or something. It's very calming to me as well. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. In Sweden we have it's called allemansrätt. It's like all man's rights. It's basically that everyone in Sweden should be able to enjoy the forest and the nature, and so you can't really buy up land and say you can't be here. Like the nature in Sweden belongs. The nature in Sweden belongs to everyone. That's a really important thing here, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
So before we go, Emil, is there something like an advice you could give to all those new teachers that are probably panicking, struggling, and knowing that you're in the same boat as them? What kind of reassurance could you give them?
Well, I can only talk for myself, really. But what I've tried to think about is like, it's okay to mess up. It's not the end of the world if you have a lesson and you try something and it doesn't go well. You learn more from having a bad lesson than having a good lesson. So just keep trying, keep trying to make the students feel involved in the education. Keep trying to just do your best. I mean, it's hard to be a teacher now, but if you really love your subjects and you really love teaching, I think it will come. It's no surprise that you will fail a bunch of times, but learn from that and just move on. I had many lessons now that afterwards I just think, what did we do really? I wanted to come here, but we ended up over here. How did we get there? So just try to think about what you're doing, and it will be fine. And when you meet the students in person for the first time, just be happy and cherish the time with the students, because you don't know how long you're gonna get with them.
That's right. That's so true. Very good. So thank you, Emil. We appreciate you and for taking the time to come talk with us. We're honored to have you on the show with us. And thank you to all the listeners out there as well. And don't forget to follow us at Twitter at chatwsk1, and find us and subscribe to the channel if you're interested, and share it with your friends. We can be found on Spotify and Anchor and Google and Apple and anywhere else you get high quality podcasts. So we're going to chat and just relax and talk about education on both sides of the pond. So thank you very much again. And I'm just so happy to be here. I appreciate both of you.
And you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.